Hello children, welcome to Grade Booster. Today we are going to discuss about life processes, an important chapter from biology. Children, life processes are the essential processes or activities that living organisms perform to maintain life. Every living organism, to maintain its life, it need to perform some activities. So these activities are called as life processes. So without these processes, organisms cannot survive. So in this chapter, we are going to see what are these life processes and what is their role in keeping an organism alive. So let us move to the topic. Here is a picture of cell. Then why are we talking about a cell when we are talking about a body, an organism? Whether it is a plant or animal, they are made up of the fundamental unit called as cell. So every organism is made up of one or many cells. So cell is the basic unit of life. By understanding what are the things that are required for a cell to keep it alive, we can understand what are the things that are required to keep an organism alive. So if we study what are the basic requirements for a cell to survive, then we will understand what are the requirements for an organism to survive. So every cell of our body, they need some basic things to survive, to exist. What are they? A cell needs food. Food. Say that is glucose. So a cell need glucose and it also need oxygen. Say for example, if we are talking about aerobic organisms, oxygen is required and food is required. So these are the basic requirements for a cell. Of course, cells need so many other materials, but basically it needs food, that is glucose, and it needs oxygen. So these things, they enter the cell. What happens inside the cell? A cell to exist, it needs some energy. It needs some energy. So the production of energy takes place by a process called as respiration. Respiration takes place. So in this process, energy is produced. So along with energy, there are some waste materials are also produced. Waste materials. Waste. So what kind of waste is produced? So inside the cells, when different activities takes place, different metabolic activities takes place, not only this respiration, other kind of activities takes place. When these activities, metabolic activities takes place, waste materials like urea, uric acid, ammonia like nitrogenous compounds are produced. Ammonia, urea, uric acid, such kind of nitrogenous wastes are produced. So these wastes, if they remain inside the cell, they are toxic to the cell environment. These compounds, these waste compounds are toxic to the cell environment. They will destroy the cell. The cell has to get rid of these waste materials. So the waste materials are to be sent out of this cell. So say these are the waste molecules. So let me write waste molecules. So what are these molecules? Useful molecules, food molecules, and oxygen molecules. So just if we see this, we can understand that there is a continuous movement of molecules into the cell and out of this cell. Molecules, they should keep on entering the cell and exit the cell. It should happen. Cells need a continuous supply of food and oxygen if it is an aerobic organism. So a cell needs a continuous supply of molecules, and a cell should get rid of waste molecules. So how it happens? See children, if it is a single celled organism, it is very easy for the materials to enter its cell and exit its cell. But you see the human body. Human body is a very complex system. Complex body has got so many systems. If you take any other multicellular organism, a plant or any other animal, their bodies are made up of number of cells, millions of cells. So all these cells should be supplied with all these materials, and all the cells should be cleared from waste materials. So this is a continuous process. So basically for this purpose, for the movement of molecules, that is to into the cell and out of the cell, living organisms, they need some mechanisms. They need some activities to keep these cells alive. Right? So these movement of molecules, it is a feature of living organisms. So you can say some organism is living because of its characteristics. It is moving, it is growing like that. But here in the textbook, we see an important feature of living organisms. It is mentioned there in the introduction part. That is movement of molecules into the cell and the movement of molecules out of the cell. It is an important feature of living organisms. So why there is movement of molecules, now you understood. Because to keep the cell alive. Why we should keep the cell alive? If an organism, if it has to live, it need to keep its cells alive. So that is the reason why organisms have different systems and different mechanisms to keep their bodies alive. So this is the introduction. This explains the purpose, the importance of life processes. Why do organisms need life processes? Because organisms need life processes. That means a set of activities to keep their cells alive. Right? By making that movement of molecules possible, entry of molecules and exit of molecules. So that is the necessity of life processes. So a set of activities are required to keep this running. What are they? Life processes. Right, children? Now let us see what are they. Here we have different processes, the 4 important life processes that helps an organism to survive. So what are they? The first one is nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. So what is nutrition? Nutrition is not just digestive system, just symbolically we kept the digestive system, but nutrition means it's a broader thing. How an organism obtains its food, that is nutrition. So it is of very different types. Basically we study autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition in this chapter. So there are 2 major types of nutrition: autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. And respiration. So this life process is all about how the energy is produced in the bodies of organisms. Whether it is plants or animals, energy should be produced in their bodies to keep their cells alive. So that process is called respiration. So respiration, it includes breathing and cellular respiration. So breathing, cellular respiration. Right? So breathing means intake, inhalation and exhalation of air. intake and release of air. Cellular respiration means release of energy from the molecules inside the cell. So these two come under this respiration. We are going to study these two under respiration. And next one is transportation. So what is transportation? Cells need so many materials. So cells are present all over our body in different parts, into different corners. So the materials are to be supplied to each and every corner of our body because we have cells everywhere in our body. So the materials are to be supplied to each and every cell. So for this supply, we need to have a good transport system. So in this lesson, in this chapter, we are going to study about human transport system and transportation in plants. We are not going to study about the transport system in all the animals. In this particular chapter, we are going to study about human transport system and transportation in plants. So transportation is required not only to supply the needed materials to the cells. Transportation is also required to take away the waste molecules, toxic molecules from the cells to the excretory organs. Right? So that is the third important life processes, that is transportation. So nutrition, respiration, transportation. Now the last one, that is excretion. Sending out the waste materials out of the body is excretion. So I already told you in the previous slide, inside the cells, so many metabolic activities takes place. So during these metabolic activities, inside the cells, so many toxic materials are produced, harmful materials are produced. So all these harmful materials are to be sent out of the body. So organisms, bigger organisms, multicellular organisms, they have developed some systems to get rid of this waste, right? And the process is excretion, and that is done by the human excretory system. Human excretory system. And we also study about excretion in plants. We also study excretion in plants. So these are the basic life processes topics that we are going to study in this particular chapter. They are the nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. Right, children? Next. So let us see the first one, nutrition. So here is the definition of nutrition. Nutrition is the process by which living organisms obtain and utilize food for energy, growth and maintaining life. So this is the process by which living organisms obtain and utilize food for energy. Obtaining and utilizing it. So that food they utilize for energy, growth and maintenance. That is nutrition. Right, children? So here we have some pictures. Here there is a plant and sunlight. Here there are some mushrooms. Here is a frog catching some insects. And here is a hand with a mosquito over there. Now, what are all these? Here we see different types of nutrition. Different types of nutrition. So what are the different types here? The first one what we see here is autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition. And these three, these are heterotrophic nutrition. So nutrition is basically of two types, autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. So autotrophic nutrition is seen in plants and some green organisms. Heterotrophic nutrition is seen in both plants and animals. So what are the three different types here? Right? We'll see them in the next slide. Let us move to the next slide. So this is autotrophic nutrition. First, let us talk about autotrophic nutrition. Then we can discuss about heterotrophic nutrition. So in the autotrophic nutrition, you can see a plant and you can see algae and cyanobacteria. So this autotrophic nutrition is found in green plants, algae and cyanobacteria. So these are the examples of autotrophic nutrition. What is the main characteristic feature of this autotrophic nutrition? They have a chlorophyll. They have a chlorophyll. So what is the purpose of chlorophyll? Chlorophyll can make the sunlight into energy. So these organisms, with the help of chlorophyll, by using the carbon dioxide and water, and using the sunlight with the help of chlorophyll, they make their own food. They prepare glucose. They also produce oxygen. So glucose and oxygen are produced in this autotrophic nutrition. So here I have given all the important points here about the autotrophic nutrition. It is found in green plants, algae and cyanobacteria. It uses chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, water and sunlight. And in this autotrophic nutrition, glucose and oxygen are produced. Right? So let us go to the next slide. So now here is a plant. Now here we can see that 3 arrow marks shown towards the plant. That means these are the raw materials required for photosynthesis. Okay. So the first one is sunlight and CO2 and water. So these 3 things are the raw materials that are taken by the plant, and it gives out the products glucose and oxygen. Right? So what does the plant do with this glucose and oxygen? Why do a plant need glucose and oxygen? So plant uses glucose for its energy. Plant also needs energy. Not only animals, even plants need energy to survive. So it uses glucose for energy production. And rest of the glucose, excess glucose, plants prepare more glucose than they require for their survival. So this excess glucose is converted into starch. What is the difference between glucose and starch? Glucose is simple carbohydrate. So this is a simple carbohydrate. Then what is the starch? It is the complex carbohydrate. So plants, they store the simple carbohydrate glucose into starch, convert it into starch and store in other parts. So that means we are eating rice and rotis. So the rice grains, they contain starch. That means the rice plant, when it is doing the photosynthesis, it stores the extra glucose it converts it into starch and stores this starch in the grains. So we are getting the rice grains and eating them. That means we are getting the starch, which is prepared by photosynthesis of rice plant. So in that way the glucose is utilized by the plant. And next, oxygen. Plant uses oxygen for its respiration. Plants also need oxygen for respiration, not only animals. But of course, plants produce more oxygen, so they use some oxygen for themselves. The excess oxygen is released into the atmosphere. We are all able to breathe. Oxygen. It's present in our atmosphere, in our surroundings, and this oxygen is produced by the autotrophic organisms like plants. So what are the materials that are needed by the plant for this? Sunlight, carbon dioxide, water. And what are the products? Glucose and oxygen. Right? So these 3 things are used by this green plant. I am saying green plant. So the green plants, they contain some special things. Only because of that the process of photosynthesis takes place. Right? Let us see what are those. Now, this is an equation form for the process of making glucose and oxygen, that is photosynthesis. What is this process? Photosynthesis. Let us see the definition of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process in which simple inorganic materials like carbon dioxide and water are converted to organic compounds like glucose using sunlight and chlorophyll. So this process is called as photosynthesis, right? Photo means light, synthesis means preparation. So photosynthesis is the process of preparation of glucose, is done by using simple materials like carbon dioxide and water with the help of chlorophyll and sunlight. So now this is in the form of a chemical equation because it is a kind of chemical reaction. So we are studying in chemistry. Chemical reactions are presented in the form of equations. So here it is an equation. So the starting materials of this equation 6CO2 plus 12H2O, these two are called as reactants. Starting materials are called reactants. So these reactants are converted to these products. What are they? Glucose and oxygen, water. Reactants, products. So what are the conditions required here? Chlorophyll is required, sunlight is required. Otherwise there is no photosynthesis. So reactants, products and conditions required. This is the equation. 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives rise to C6H12O6. This is the formula for glucose. And 6O2 oxygen plus water. Of course, this is not a balanced reaction. This reaction is not balanced here. But to understand the reaction well, here we have the presentation of a chemical equation. Presentation in the form of a chemical equation. So this is the equation of photosynthesis, right? So photosynthesis is the process that is carried out by autotrophic organisms. Yes. So now let us see what are the different sources of the raw materials or reactants to the plant. How do plants get their raw materials? Sunlight is available. From the sunlight, plant can take directly through the surface of the leaf. When the sunlight strikes the surface of the leaf, the sunlight is directly absorbed into the leaf. It penetrates into the leaf. And whereas the water, it is given to the roots. Water is given to the roots. Through roots, water enters into the plant's body. And carbon dioxide, here carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide enters the plant body through some small pores present on the leaves, especially more on the underside, beneath the surface, okay, under the leaf, on the lower surface. There are so many pores called as stomata. So, through this stomata, the carbon dioxide enters the plant body. Next. So now here we have the picture of a plant showing different parts here. What are they? Plants not only use stomata to get the carbon dioxide, right? Mostly we see the stomata mostly on the leaves and in some other green parts. But if you come to stem, there are some other structures which help the plant to get the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, lenticels. Right? So, the stem gets the carbon dioxide through these lenticels. And the leaves they get through the stomata. And roots also get the air, gases through root hairs. Right, children? So here we have the clear structure of stomata. So a leaf contains so many stomata. What is stomata here? This is stomata. The center part is stomata. Right. So what are these? What are these? God cells. So two cells, two God cells, 1, 2. A stomata is enclosed by two God cells. So what do these God cells do? They operate the stomata. They open and close the stomata. So here we have the functions of stomata. Functions. What is the first function? Gas exchange. Stomata are helpful for the exchange of gases. That means to release the oxygen out to get the carbon dioxide in. This stomata helps. So what is the function? Gas exchange. What is the second function? Water balance. The stomata helps to balance the amount of water present in a plant. If the plant is not having enough water in its body, this stomata, the guard cells, they close the stomata. Once the stomata is closed, the release of water vapor stops. Right? So when the plant's body has got less water, then the stomata are closed to control the balance of water. When there is excess water, the stomata gets opened and the water vapor is released out. And third one, transpiration. So that is the same, transpiration, release of water vapor. Right, children? So these are the functions of the stomata. So what are the parts here? Stomata is surrounded or covered by guard cells. So these guard cells, they operate like doors. They close and open. How they are operated? What is the mechanism? Right? Let us see. Opening. When they are opened, when guard cells are absorbed, when guard cells absorbed water, that means when there is a lot of water in the plant has got sufficient, enough water, more water, plenty of water. In such cases, this water enters the guard cells. So when the water enters, they swell and they take the curve. So earlier they were like this flaccid. When the water enters, they take the curve shape. Then the stomata, the center opening, opens. So when there is more water, this water enters the guard cells. The guard cells, they swell and takes the curve shape. Then the stomata opens. And closing of stomata. When guard cells lose water, when the water goes out of the stomata, the water goes out of the stomata. These stomata, they become flaccid, flat, shrink. Then the guard cells come close and the stomata is closed. When there is more water, swelling and opening. Less water, becoming flat and flaccid, closing of stomata. So depends upon the availability of water, the stomata are operated in a plant. So stomata, they plays a very important role in plants. So why are we talking about this stomata? Because they help the plant in getting the carbon dioxide into its body, and at the same time they help the plant to release the oxygen into the atmosphere. So that is the role played by the stomata. What are the other roles? Water balance and transpiration. Right, children? Next, variegated leaf experiment. What is this variegated leaf experiment? So variegated leaf means a leaf with white and green patches. That means the leaf that has got chlorophyll at some parts, and some parts it does not contain the chlorophyll. So where there is no chlorophyll, that part is white, and where there is chlorophyll, that part is green. Such kind of leaves are called as variegated leaves. So why are we doing an experiment with this variegated leaf? What is the purpose of it? So we are going to do this experiment to show that, to prove that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. So what is required? Chlorophyll is needed. So we are going to show it practically with an experiment to show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis, means no photosynthesis without chlorophyll. That we are going to prove. Let us see the experiment. So here is the different steps of this experiment. Here is the step 1. Step 1. So what is there in step 1? Here we see a potted plant. So a plant with variegated leaves. These are the variegated leaves. You can see the green areas and non-green areas. So these are the non-green areas, light, and this is the green area. It's a variegated leaf. So we have taken a potted plant, and this potted plant, it should be kept in dark for 3 days. 3 days. Why we should keep the plant in dark for 3 days? To destarch the plant. To destarch the plant. So the plant, previously it was in sunlight. That means it prepared a lot of food during photosynthesis. So now when we take a plant for experiment, we want that plant free of starch. So how do we remove the starch from the plant? Just by keeping the plant in dark for 3 days. If you keep the plant in darkness for 3 days, for the 3 days there is no photosynthesis in the plant. So it uses up whatever the starch is already prepared in its body. Then the plant becomes starch free, de-starched plant. So that was the first step. Okay, right. It was de-starched. Now, take the plant into sunlight and keep it in sunlight for 6 hours. 6 hours in sunlight. What happens? Photosynthesis takes place. Starch is prepared in the leaves. Now we are going to test the leaf at which portions the starch is prepared. So we are going to detach the leaf, take the leaf out, and we are tracing the borders of the leaf on a butter paper, right? So why are we tracing? We can observe later after the experiment. When the results comes out, then we can check. So for that purpose, with the help of a butter paper, we are tracing the pattern of the leaf. Now what to do with the leaf? We have to test the leaf for presence of starch. Whether the starch is present in the leaf or not, we have to test it. How do we do that? First, we have to boil the leaf in water. Boil the leaf in water for a few minutes. Boiling makes the leaf soft, right? So for few minutes, the leaf is boiled in the water. So then the leaf is taken and it is boiled in alcohol. Leaf is boiled in alcohol. This is alcohol. You can see that alcohol is in a small beaker and this alcohol beaker is kept in some water bath, water tub, right? Because we cannot directly boil alcohol over flame, because if there are any vapors, alcohol vapors, so these vapors, they may catch the fire, there is a chance. So we kept some water bath. So first boiling the leaf in water, then boiling it in alcohol. When the leaf is boiled in alcohol, it loses all its color. The alcohol turns to green. That means the green color of the leaves goes into the alcohol. Now the leaf becomes colorless. Then take the leaf out and keep the leaf in a tub, in a beaker. And we are going to test the leaf for the presence of starch. So presence of starch can be tested by using iodine. What do we need to test? Iodine. Iodine solution. So if you put some few drops of iodine solution, dilute iodine solution on the leaf, some parts of the leaf turn dark blue color. When iodine react with starch, it gives dark blue color. Now you see the leaf, only some parts are dark blue. That means only starch was formed only in those parts. Photosynthesis took place only in those parts. And this part is non-green area. Here we can see that. That place there is no photosynthesis. Right? So by this we can understand that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Without chlorophyll, there is no photosynthesis. We can prove it by doing this variegated leaf experiment. Next. Next, we have one more experiment. Experiment to prove that carbon dioxide is necessary. Carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. So how do we prove this? What kind of activity is needed to prove that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis? Let us see. Here is the setup to show that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Now, let us look at the location of photosynthesis. Location means actually at which part of the leaf the photosynthesis takes place. Let us see. Here we have a leaf and this is the cross section of leaf. Cross section of leaf. So if we cut the leaf, this is the upper surface of the leaf, this is the lower surface of the leaf. In between the upper surface and lower surface, there are so many cells packed inside. So these are the vesicular bundles, that means which conduct the water and minerals like xylem and phloem. And here are some cells, green color cells. So you can see the green color cells. They have some green color dots. The cells are green color because they have some green color components. What are they? Chloroplast. So chloroplasts are present in these green cells of the leaf. So what is chloroplast? It is a cell organelle. It is a kind of plastid. The main function of the chloroplast is to carry out photosynthesis. So chloroplast is a cell organelle in which the process of photosynthesis takes place. So what is the location of photosynthesis? Somebody asks you a question, even in the exams, what do you write? Chloroplast is the location of photosynthesis. Right? So now, photolysis. It is also called photolysis. Photo means light. Lysis means breakdown. So what broken down here? Water molecule. So light activated chlorophyll, that is with the help of sunlight, the water is split into hydrogen and oxygen. That's what happened in step 2. Right? In step 1, chlorophyll is activated by sunlight. Step 2, the light activated chlorophyll splits the water molecules. Now let us see what happens in step 3. Step 3, the hydrogen produced in step 2, reacts with carbon dioxide. So hydrogen produced in step 2 reacts with carbon dioxide and it forms glucose. It forms glucose. Right? So these are the 3 steps. Step 1, chlorophyll get activated by the light. It becomes light activated chlorophyll. Step 2, the light activated chlorophyll molecule, it splits the water molecule. And step 3, the hydrogen produced in step 2 reacts with carbon dioxide. The hydrogen produced in step 2 reacts with carbon dioxide and it forms glucose. So this is step 3. So in 3 simple steps we learned the mechanism of photosynthesis. So let us have some more details of this mechanism of photosynthesis. Here. So don't worry about this complex picture. Of course, you are not having this one in your textbooks. But to give you more details about the mechanism, I have taken this picture. It's very simple. This is nothing but a chloroplast, a representation of chloroplast. And these are the thylakoids. That is grana. And the remaining space is stroma. This is stroma. Right. So here, if you see that the complete process of photosynthesis is divided into 2 phases, light reactions and dark reactions. Light reactions and dark reactions. Right, children? So what are these light reactions? So this part is light reactions and this part is dark reactions. First, let us look at the light reactions. So in light reactions, what are the components here? Light and H2O. Light, H2O. These 2 are the major components. Thylakoids get the light and H2O. And what is produced here? Oxygen is produced. In the light reaction, oxygen is produced. It's released out. Not only that, in light reactions, 2 important components are produced. What are they? ATP and NADPH. These 2 are the energy rich molecules. So in light reactions, these thylakoids, that means the grana, it converted the light and water into oxygen, ATP and NADPH. Means thylakoids, they trapped the solar energy and they kept the solar energy in ATP and NADPH molecules. So these 2 are produced in light reactions. Right, children? So light reactions are light dependent reactions. Why they are called light reactions? That means for these reactions to happen, there should be sunlight. There should be sunlight. Without sunlight, this reaction, light reaction cannot take place. Now this ATP and NADPH, they are passed to the next set of reactions, dark reactions. Dark reactions are also called as light independent. They may happen in presence of light or in absence of light. So what is required here? Carbon dioxide is required. So the carbon dioxide is taken in and it is converted to starch. This is the final product in the dark reaction. So where are these dark reactions taking place? They are taking place in the stroma. In the stroma. Light reactions in the grana, that is in the thylakoids. So we can divide the reactions of photosynthesis into light reactions, dark reactions. In light reactions, light is converted to ATP and NADPH and oxygen is produced. Light reactions takes place in the grana, and dark reactions, the carbon dioxide is fixed to starch. So the carbon dioxide, it utilizes the ATP and NADPH which are produced in the light reaction. So these two things are used here and starch is produced, the final product is produced, and these reactions takes place in the stroma. So before this, we studied the photosynthesis mechanism in 3 simple steps. This is a little bit elaborated explanation. So we have seen that plants, they prepare starch during photosynthesis. But plants not only make starch, not only make carbohydrate, plants also make proteins. See, for example, we are eating dal, pulses and beans. So these are the products of plants. They contain protein. Pulses and beans contain proteins. So we have seen how plants make carbohydrate like starch, but how do the plants make protein? What do they need to make protein? To make carbohydrates, plants need carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. These are required. To make proteins, plants also need nitrogen. They need nitrogen. How do they get the nitrogen? How do plants get the nitrogen? So where is the nitrogen? Nitrogen is in the air. Nitrogen is in the air. How do plants get that? They cannot absorb the nitrogen just like carbon dioxide as they absorb the carbon dioxide. They cannot take the atmospheric nitrogen directly. Then how do plants get the nitrogen to make protein? Plants get the nitrogen from the soil in the form of nitrates and nitrites. How these nitrates and nitrites are formed? These nitrates and nitrates are formed in 2 ways. One, by decomposition. By decomposition of dead matter. Dead and decaying matter. So some organisms die in the soil. So due to decomposition, they become into some nitrogenous products like ammonia is produced. Some bacteria in the soil, they convert the atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. So in this way, ammonia is formed in the soil. Ammonia is formed by 2 ways: decomposition of dead organic matter and conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia by some bacteria. This ammonia is again converted to nitrites and nitrates by nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria, they convert this ammonia into nitrites and nitrates. So these nitrites and nitrates are taken by the plant, and the plant uses these nitrites and nitrates to produce proteins. So they are important for the growth of the plant. So right, children, so we have seen the mechanism of photosynthesis and how plants get the nitrogen. This is all about the autotrophic nutrition, that is nutrition in plants, how they make their own food.
Thanks for watching. Please like the video. Please share this video with your friends. Please subscribe to Grade Booster channel. Press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. Check the description to find links of other useful videos. Check the end screens for our new videos.